You do not need to move faster. You need to remove what is quietly stealing your capacity to do the thing automatically. We're talking capacity today. Specifically, we're talking about 3 things that are holding your business back from growth. And those 3 things do not include not being good enough. They don't include not being sexy enough. Has nothing to do with your BMI. Has nothing to do with your gender, your age, your orientation. Has nothing to do with any of those things. We're going to talk about 3 in your control behaviors that are going to shift and change everything for you and your business and your outcomes and everything like that. And let's get this party started. So, okay, most business owners are not actually stuck just because they're doing the wrong thing. Hello, good morning, Annie. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay, they're usually stuck because of friction. So I'm going to call it friction. Sometimes I call it resistance, right? I just say resistance, but I'm Canadian as well as American. So I was raised on a bit of French. So there you go. Vive la resistance. But seriously, like this hidden resistance, this hidden friction is really one of the biggest obstacles that most entrepreneurs face. And I know this because I've been coaching people for well over a decade. And I've been doing it as an entrepreneur. I'm working on my 9th year, which is just banana phone to me. That's crazy. But in all that time, I've talked to so many people. I just posted on my Facebook this morning that I realized I've actually interviewed well over 100 established entrepreneurs in the last year. And everybody is going through change right now. Like they're testing new things at their branding. They're testing new promotional things that they're doing. Like everybody's doing all in new. And here's the really crazy thing is just how often I heard the words, "It's not ready yet." Have you ever told yourself that? It's not ready yet. My message is not ready yet. My offer is not ready yet. My content calendar is not ready yet. I'm not ready. Well, what you're really saying is, I'm uncomfortable because I know that what I've got is warm garbage, right? Like you have so much judgment for what you're creating right now, and it's causing you to hesitate getting a reaction. And I know this because I've done this. I do this still. I have to remind myself, Amanda, never let perfect be the enemy of good. You know what would have been perfect this morning? It would have been perfect if I got up at 4:30 in the morning, went and had a nice workout and a green shake and, maybe a green smoothie. And maybe, if I'd done like major deliverables before I got here on this camera, that'd be perfect. And also if I sat in a makeup chair for about 4 seconds, that'd be great. But you know what I got done? A shower. I feel great. I had a shower, I had some coffee, I got going today. Today was one of those days where I was actually really dragging butt. And I'm sharing that with you because we all experience resistance. And, about 8 years ago, no, just kidding. It was more like 6 or 7 years ago. I actually caught myself on camera for the very first time on social media. And up to that point, it was all resistance. It was crazy friction. But you want to know what it takes to actually do a video online? You take this digit, and if you happen to not have an index finger, you can use any of the other 9 that you were given, and you push go. You push play. That's what you do. And, I'm so excited about talking to you about these 3 hidden blocks because it really is usually a matter of engaging those little digits just to get started, right? And once you get started, you start getting feedback. And it's not just feedback from other people. Everybody's worried about feedback from other people. You get feedback. Your brain gets valuable feedback information of where the heck is the go live button? Where the heck is this application? How do people over here hang out? Like your brain is getting incredibly valuable information, not because you're sitting in this class, although this class is awesome, but it's also because you're just doing the dang thing. So do what matters. Never forget, do what matters. All right. So I want to show you how to clear these 3 things. That's what we're going to do. We're going to identify the 3 things. We're going to clear these 3 things today because it's Monday. If you love watching me every week, make sure you tell your friends. Okay. So, hidden block numero uno, all right, is you say yes to everything, even the things that are not the main things, right? So you can't outwork this friction thing, right? Like that's not the solution. Man, I love certain influencers quite a lot. I think they have a lot of really intelligent things to say, but when it comes to human motivation psychology stuff, I feel like they have been weighed and measured and found wanting. If you know what movie that is, let me know. But there's this whole rumor about like, you don't need motivation, just discipline yourself out of it. Forget your feelings, just follow the plan, right? But like I said, I mean, you probably woke up with a great plan this morning, right? You probably had a great plan last week. You had a great plan yesterday. The plan is not the problem, right? We've got to address the underlying thing. And, yes, a little bit of just like grab your bootstraps and do some doing is great. But let's talk about why we're not doing that already. Because, like, I'm going to put that in the category of, strategies. Duh. Like, that's exactly what I need to do is just do the thing I planned on doing. But why don't we do it? Well, there's 3 hidden slowdowns, and they are called the following: the overload loop, the decision drag, and the visibility gap. All right. So I'm going to walk through each one of these because you deserve to break through them. You do not need to move faster. You need to remove what is quietly stealing your capacity to do the thing automatically, right? Like, you can do actually incredibly hard things basically automatically, right? It's a matter of training. It's a matter of exposure. It's a matter of choosing the identity. So let's talk about the hidden block number 1, which is the overload loop. This one gets you. The overload loop happens when you say yes to everything. Everything. When you let everybody else make their problems your problems, and then you also got your problems on top of their problems, right? It's overload. So it's also can show up as like you're saying yes to all the new ideas. So right now, my word, the number of entrepreneurs that are complaining, struggling, just doing all kinds of crazy antics right now to get attention is wild. It's wild to watch. And why is it happening? Well, because people are chasing understanding something that is way beyond, right? So they're going after every new AI technology that comes out there. They're going after every new idea. They stick with it for about 45 seconds before they run on to the next idea. And the thing is that when you do that, you're not letting anything germinate. You're not letting anything, take root of your curiosity to be able to develop any kind of mastery in anything. And I know for me, one of the things that has definitely led to more like yes to new is because the old wasn't working anymore. So there's a certain amount of you've got to do that. Like you've got to explore different ideas. You've got to get out there. But when it becomes problematic is when you're not even measuring whether the thing is actually doing anything new for you. That's the big thing. If you're doing something new because the old thing clearly is not working anymore, you have the data to support that the old thing isn't working. But now you're pursuing the new thing and you're not bothering to measure whether it works except for by your feelings and by your gut. Your feelings when you're in that mindset, in that mode, are likely to lead you to just find a new thing, find a new thing, find a new thing, find a new thing, and nothing can take root. And what ends up happening is all your systems and your sanity just can't keep up with the load. It's like asking a really old computer or a really old phone to keep up with the latest software. And it's like, sorry, I cannot do that because I don't have enough memory. I don't have enough processing power. I got too much stuff on my hard drive, excuse me. That's really what you're facing with overload. And here's why high performers especially suffer from this one is because high performers very often are the ones that people do depend on. Like, you're capable, you're good at stuff, you're good at learning things, you're courageous, you've done so many things in your life. Of course, the answer is always yes, I will do more. But the thing is the more that you stack, the slower you go. Right? The more plates you have spinning in the air, the slower you're going to go. And it's going to feel like resistance. It's going to feel like friction, and it's going to feel kind of crappy. So ask yourself, what is heavy right now that used to feel light? What's heavy that used to feel light? And that's like a genuine journaling question. What is heavy that used to feel light? That's where you might have outgrown something that you're still carrying around, and it's adding to your sensation of overwhelm because you're trying to be what you used to be and do what you used to do, and it's not, it feels like an anchor. It feels like a big heavy weight around your ankles and you can't break free of it. It's so heavy, right? So ask yourself, what is heavy that used to feel light? And then the real solution to this, because I promised you, like, I'm not just going to tell you what's wrong with your life, like most social media does. I'm actually going to help you with solving it. So what do we do when we're like really overwhelmed like that? We've identified these things that are super heavy that used to feel light. Well, you've got a few choices. I always go to my 5D model for deciding what to do. The first question is, do you even need to do that anymore? Right? That's the first question. Do you even need to do that heavy thing anymore? So that is the delete, right? Shout a one in the chat if you heard the first D. The second D in the 5D model is actually to digitize. So, oh my word, this is the best thing about AI. Like, there's so many things that you could just automate. Did you know that you can tell ChatGPT, like, hey, remind me about XYZ in future time, and it'll do it? Or like every Wednesday at 1:00, send me XYZ, and it'll do that, right? So there's so many things that you're using your valuable RAM, your valuable psychological energy. You know, I kind of think of it as like the ether. You're using this cloud of thought to remember to do stuff. And even if you don't want to use ChatGPT, it's called a calendar. It's called a calendar, right? But if you're like me, you were raised to look at other people's calendars. You didn't really own your calendar. And because you didn't really own your calendar, you didn't make the decisions about what was on that calendar. So this is a conditioning that we have to actually break free of if we're going to have time freedom, right? So I hope that makes a lot of sense. So digitize it, delegate it. Maybe, just maybe, there's someone in your world who would love the opportunity to do that work because for them, it's a step up, right? So for you, it's like a step down, but for them, it's a step up. So we delegate to people that want that step up. So, you know, more recently, I delegated the cat room to my kiddo, my 12-year-old. And for a long time, I was just like sucking it up and doing it. It was getting heavier and heavier. And I'm like, I love these cats, don't love this job. And it occurred to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, my 12-year-old needs to be able to take care of, you know, himself, and he's got all this free time and everything. So for him, it's a step up to take on that responsibility. And boy, oh boy, when I say that my son loves his cats, he doesn't just do the room, he feeds them, he waters them, he makes sure that they're okay. And that responsibility was a step up for him. Right? So I think sometimes we hang on to these things that we're supposed to do because we've got this warped idea that it's where we are adding our best value. And the thing is like, actually, you might be hoarding something that's valuable to somebody else. Right? And you're not living in your core genius. You're not living in your best contribution. Right? So, and it turns out, like with teaching my son about the cats, for example, and how to take care of the cats, my higher calling in that instance was I was being a better mom. I dated the guy that didn't know how to use a laundry machine. Okay. I dated the guy that didn't know how to do the chores. That sucks. I'm actually saving some woman in the future potentially who will not have to suffer my son not knowing how to do basic chores. You know what I mean? Because I chose to live more in my aligned identity, which is, of course, a loving mother that teaches my son responsibility. So you can delegate it. The next D is, can you do it later? Can you defer? Can you do you have to do things now? And when I'm working with new coaches, so often they're doing crazy stuff during the week. And then they're wondering why, when they go do their weekly review on the weekend, that they're not getting the kind of traction they want. I'm going to give you an example of crazy stuff. So if you're building a 6-figure business with a brand that's never existed before, and you are establishing your credibility with people to be like a coach or an expert, but you can't work on your business because there's too much laundry to be done. And you're letting the laundry interfere with your visibility. You're letting the laundry interfere with your sense of identity and well-being. You're letting the laundry most detrimentally interfere with your calendar and the time that you had previously set aside to do your learning, to do your execution, to do your work. Look, just like think about it. If a coach is like spending more of their time on housework than they are on their business, and then they compare to somebody who spends time on their business, what do you think is the result going to be? Right? I'm not saying don't wash your clothes. I'm saying defer it to the weekend, just like you do in a normal job, right? Or defer it. You could delegate it if you have the money to do it. But if you don't have the money to do it, literally box it in. Time block it. Box it in a smaller part of your week so that you're not working on things that don't help you actually grow. Just remember this, you don't scale by just adding more. You trade, you clear friction, and you trade the activities so that you end up creating more of what you actually want. Hidden block number 2, this one's huge, is decision drag. Oh, my word. So decision drag shows up when every choice feels like a test. You've been with this person, I'm sure, when you go out to a restaurant and they're just like, sidebar, I just remembered I didn't finish the rest of the 5 Ds. You just saw in real time. My brain totally blanked. So, okay, 5 Ds. So it was delete, it was digitize, it was delegate, it was defer, but the 5th D was you got to do it. And again, you got to put time on the calendar to do it. All right, sorry, looping back. The decision drag. So decision drag shows up when every choice starts to feel like a test, right? So I actually had a little mini decision there. I caught as I was live that I didn't finish my 5D model. I give you 4 of the Ds, not the 5th D. And then I was like, do I ignore that mistake and do I continue on? And I decided not to ignore the mistake because I don't know about you, but open loops drive me crazy. So I wanted to close that loop. I made the decision. I acted on the decision. There's nothing that can be done about it now. It is over. It's done. It's decided. And I think like when we have a lot of decisions, it can feel like an elephant just sitting on your brain because it leads to all this indecision, hesitation, overthinking. Think about the emotions that come up for you when you're confused and you're trying to decide what to do. And, I think that when you have a small hesitation, there's actually a hidden cost to your momentum. Right? Because people who have clarity, they tend to take like action and then they tend to move. But I think one of the biggest misunderstandings about clarity is people believe they can just have it. Like you're just going to get the download or you're just going to get the inspiration. And sometimes it does happen, but it's very unreliable. It's a very unreliable technique. I'm going to tell you something that actually leads to a lot of clarity, and that is motion. Getting into motion and doing the thing that you want to do so that you can get like that feedback loop going again. So you don't need more answers. You actually need fewer questions. How's that for a Monday? You need fewer questions. So one way that a lot of people do this is they have rules. They set up rules that actually protect their energy. So for example, I have a bedtime. I have rules about how people can actually access me and communicate with me. I have rules about my rhythms and my routines. I have rules about I've got a lot of rules, like so many rules. But the reason why is a rule is simply a decision that you made already that doesn't need to be revisited. I'm going to say that again. Like when you make rules for yourself, I was so resistant to this because I was like, I want freedom. I want freedom. And it just struck me that if I'm like creating all these rules, that it's actually just going to be like less freedom, right? Because it feels like boundaries. But if you're the author of the rule, if you yourself authored that rule and set up those boundaries for yourself, all it is deciding in advance. It's just deciding in advance, right? So you've probably made a decision in advance about when you brush your teeth every day. No big deal. You brush your teeth in the morning. Maybe you do it after lunch. I don't know. Some people do, some people don't. Maybe you do it just before bed, but you've got rules about these things, or at least you should. If you haven't been brushing your teeth, like, what are you even doing? But the point is that your freedom comes from not having to face every single decision all the time, right? And your freedom comes from the fact that you were the one that authored the rules. You were the one that decided what your version of freedom actually looks like. Ta-da, right? But the thing is that if you're always living in this whole decision-making thing, like what should I sell? What should I post? What should I say? What should I do? What should I price? What should I work on today? You're never going to get traction and momentum because you're busy thinking about the thing that you're going to potentially do instead of just freaking doing it. All right. So set up some rules for yourself, my friend, and get out of that crazy town loop. So just keep this in mind. I used to think that it was, people say success loves speed. And that is very, very true. But that's not the same as success loving your indecision and your frequent switching between doing this or doing that. That's not speed. That's stalling, right? That's getting stuck in the switches. So speed is forward momentum movement, right? Forward momentum movement. Okay, third big block. This one's massive. Is you're afraid of people judging you because even though you're brilliant at what you do, you're worried that they don't think so. Even though you're brilliant at what you do, even though you have so much value that you offer people because you are entertaining, you are funny, you are intelligent, you are well-read, you are thoughtful, you are considered, you are moral, you are all those good things. But because you're worried that somebody else, possibly strangers, but even people that are close to you, you're worried about what their opinion of you is. And so you don't show up. And this one was like massive. I probably delayed starting a business at all for a good 8 years. A good 8 years because I just had this nagging feeling like people would find out that I suck. And now I'm going to say something that's like potentially a little vulnerable here. Just say I see you if you do. I suck in some ways. Right? And I know you're not ever supposed to say that and you're not supposed to say it as a coach, but this is a vulnerable moment and I just really want you to know. Like there's things that I don't have figured the freak out yet, right? There's things that are very different. I'm getting choky. There are things that are very different from what I envisioned that I find my reality in. And I'm just like mad about it sometimes, right? Sad about it sometimes. I am not perfect or even close. But the point is that you see me. And, I was working on some content earlier today. It was awesome. My hair was like crazy disheveled and it was very messy content, but I was working on it. And I'm actually doing a webinar later today at 3:00 Central on the Spark method for sales. And what came up for me as I was working on this presentation and like, how do I sell? And like, what's different than a lot of people? And it's actually vulnerability. It's my willingness for you to see that I suck in some way, right? And it could be like, I'm not putting it on. I'm not like trying to suck more. But what I'm saying is like, if you see me warts and all, if you see me with wrinkles and gray hair and insecurities, if you see me say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, believe the wrong thing, and then you see me like have realizations and you see me learning and growing and evolving, you're going to have two choices. One, you're going to be like completely repulsed by that. And you're going to be like, ew, she doesn't have her shit together. I don't know if I can say that SHIT on the gram. Sorry. But the other possibility is you go, wow, this person tells the truth. This person is real. I can relate to this person. Because here's what I've learned and discovered. People do relate to each other on the level of a dream. Like they want the same things. They want to be famous. They want to be wealthy. They want to be loved, right? Like we all align on those things. Everybody wants that stuff. But I think where we pick tribe and we choose people who we actually want to be in a relationship with is we actually pick them based on their flaws. Do we share flaws? Do we share frustrations? Do we share kind of similar views in the sense of wishing that things were different about us. But in that, we find this alignment, right? This is probably way heavier than I'm going to do later today, but I think like you don't really have a marketing problem yet. For most people, they don't actually have a marketing problem. They have a visibility problem, a vulnerability problem. They don't feel supported by being out there in the real world as who they really are. But when it comes to selling, that's literally one of the things that I'm very confident has led to a lot of my success. It's not the magic words, it's not NLP or LMNOP. It's not, maybe there's certain things in there that might help a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, it's whether we can connect as real human beings working on a shared problem together. And do we believe each other? Do we believe each other? Because if in a sales call, people don't believe you and you don't believe them, that sale's not closing. It's not closing, right? Because if you don't believe them, you're going to do something to throw that sale off. You're going to blurt out the price too soon, or you're going to pull back in some way. You're going to like show that you don't have conviction in your product, even though you do. And it's like, not that you don't have conviction in the product, it's that you don't believe the person that's sitting across from you. So you're doing whatever you can to sabotage the sale. Goes the other way too. The other person on the other side of the table, they don't believe you. Suddenly their calendar is crazy full. Suddenly everything, every single dollar they've ever earned is like accounted for. And there's just, no room for you. Suddenly they're going to lose their autonomy to make decisions because they don't believe you. They don't believe you. So this visibility thing is actually a really, really important and interesting part of being successful in business, period. And it's becoming even more so. There's certainly brands that we can all think of that are generally bigger, that there's more of like a culture, but even those brands, like they have spokespeople. They have people that are speaking for that brand, right? So yeah, visibility. It's not really about being louder per se. It's not about having more followers exactly. It's about being clear and in higher connection with the people that you do connect with, right? My biggest suggestion is just choose one transformation you help people with. Just one thing that they go from A to B, and then obsessively tell stories about that. And if you can do that, and you can do that with conviction and clarity and confidence over and over and over again, even if you're sharing something that's really vulnerable, you're going to be so much further ahead than like 99% of business owners. You really, really are. Stop waiting to feel ready. I think about those 8 years that I knew I wanted to start a business and didn't do it. I think about that a lot. And I think about the self-talk that I had. And it was always about my weight, or it was always about my age, or it was always about like my identity in some way. And until you decide that you're going to let yourself be where your feet are and just start talking, right? Start sharing, then, here's the truth. The world really does need more voices like yours, less voices like the ones that you're worried about being confused with, right? And you can't stop people from talking, and you shouldn't stop people from talking. But what you certainly can do is you can speak up for yourself, right? You can speak up for yourself. It's not about chasing attention. It's really about attracting alignment, right? And we can talk more about that in another sesh. But high achievers often mistake friction for failure. So that's like the biggest thing I want you to take away from today's sesh is that you're not broken. It's just that your system is a little jammed up. That's it. It's a little jammed up. You got a little too much going through the system. We need to like focus and release, let go of some of the things that are keeping you all jammed up. And once you clear that, your momentum starts rushing back because you've got clarity of purpose, you've got definite purpose, and you take the right action one step after another. And the thing is we can never know with certainty what exactly is going to happen in the future, but what we can know is what we're doing today, and are we doing things to position ourselves for the opportunity? If we're not positioning ourselves for the opportunity, then you get to begin again right now, right? And so go ahead and grab a notepad and just list 3 areas in your business that feel really slow or heavy. And for each one, just ask yourself, is this overload Is this indecision or is this invisibility? Am I hiding from being seen? And then just pick one area to clear this week, right? You don't have to worry about all of them. Just pick one. And my friend, you will have some progress. Focus is how the flow begins. And if this conversation has really given you some clarity or some language for what you've been going through, be sure to share it with a friend who's maybe been stuck in that grind and they're not getting the traction that they want to have. And if you're ready to rebuild your momentum, make sure you come join us in the Clients Over Chaos community. It's absolutely free. It includes a 5-video, very short, very manageable video, but 5-video training on what you need to be focused on to attract your first or next 5 clients. Can't wait to see you in there. Your business doesn't need more hustle. It needs more flow, my friends, more flow. And when your capacity engine runs clear, growth stops feeling heavy and it starts feeling inevitable. My friend, that was it. That's what I have for you today. I hope that you had a great time. I loved being here with you, and I hope to see you again very soon.